we talking about here?
Peace, peace, peace. Welcome to another episode of Waza Dome. Today I have a very special guest, MC extraordinaire, the Earth, 5%. You've seen it in a lot. You've heard her on a lot. In the Njeri Earth, I appreciate you for coming on. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Peace, peace, God. Thank you for having me.
No doubt, no doubt. And so I like to start from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? How long you been rhyming and like how did you just, when did you get to the point where you figure out, yeah, this is something that I love to do, create music and just pen your thoughts on paper?
Well, for me, it started off with music. My father, he sang and played guitar, played bongos. And as early as I can remember, I'd be listening to him, trying to play along with him, trying to sing along with him. And, I thought I was going to be a singer. I think for many years, I knew I was going to do music. But it was probably, I want to say, honestly, the mark for me is like Salt and Pepper. Once Salt and Pepper came out, before that, I was real into Kool Moe Dee.
Yeah.
So we talking like what, 87?
87, 88.
And then by the time I saw Salt and Pepper, before that I heard Roxanne Shante, but I didn't have the face to put with, the music. And I was too young. I wasn't really, I was still into Michael Jackson, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jackson now, I don't care what nobody say, but
right.
I was still into, R&B and pop and all of that kind of stuff when I was real young. And then once I saw Salt and Pepper, and I saw some sisters up there, doing what I'd heard the brothers do, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is something that I can do too.
Yeah, and you do it very well, and you know what I'm saying. That's like 100% truth. And so when Njeri Earth being 5%, walk us through, your journey on, getting knowledge yourself and how that came about.
Well, that came about, ironically, I guess in a kind of way. It happened initially with, well, no, let me take it back. I'm not even gonna take it to music. Before, becoming the Earth, I got into Nation of Islam. And I was a self-proclaimed Muslim. I got into Malcolm X. Malcolm was probably the spark that my brother, he also was in the Nation of Islam coming out of prison. And so he would send me, different lessons. Actually, it wasn't 120, it was Supreme Wisdom.
Right.
And so I look at that, study that, read Elijah's books. And that was interesting in my journey in music too, because right before that point in time, I was like heavy in the Snoop Dogg. Heavy in the Snoop Dogg and, whatever was related to Snoop Dogg. So when I started...
That Death Row era was fire, though.
Say it again?
I said that Death Row era was fire, though.
Oh, man. It was, and Snoop came in, for me, he was so impressionable because he came in with a voice I had never heard before.
Right. Same here.
With a style I never heard before. And for me, that's what, along with the lyricism, with artists, not for Snoop in particular, not to say he ain't got lyrics, but for Snoop, it was the voice and the style that, kind of attracted me to him. Before that, it was like Kool Moe Dee. I had started to kind of get into Rakim, but I honestly didn't get into Rakim, I'd say, until really when he made that 18th Letter album. I had heard stuff before that, but it took me, a while to really get into him like that.
Right.
So, right around that time, I'm picking up Nation of Islam, but like the flows and the raps I'm doing sound kind of West Coast. So I had like a West Coast flavor kind of rhyme style, but I'm speaking all this conscious, Black power kind of stuff with it.
Right.
And it went from there into about 97, where I'm in the band, concert band at school, Cass Tech. Shout out to my Cass Tech, Detroit, Michigan people. And this brother that we were friends, God, he was God.
Mhm.
And he came to me one day in band and was like, I want you to be my earth.
Mm.
You know, and I didn't know what that meant. You know,
Right.
we had a couple builds, a couple conversations, you know, here and there. And I didn't know what it meant, you know, but I knew that I was attracted to what he was building about and what he
Yeah.
was talking about. We had a lot in common. You know, I'm coming from the Nation of Islam
Right.
thought process. He's coming from the 5% process. So from there, that's where, you know, for me, honestly, it opened up a lot lyrically as
Mm.
a hip hop artist when I
Mhm.
got Knowledge of Self.
Mhm.
Um, I had, you know, content. I say my content was pretty deep prior to that, but after getting the Knowledge of Self, going through 120, studying lessons, it was like,
Yeah,
you know,
expound on that some as far as once you got knowledge yourself and you started studying the lessons and just living the culture. How did that affect you musically?
whoa, that was huge because we talking Wu-Tang,
Mm.
we talking, I mean, really for me, once I got Knowledge of Self, I didn't want to hear nothing like Snoop was my favorite rapper. I turned him off. It was
Right,
like, I don't want to hear that.
right.
The only one that had some kind of hope from me listening to them was Tupac.
Right, right, right.
Tupac, he would get real, you know, gangsta or whatever with it, but then he dropped some jewels here and there.
Yeah, most definitely.
Like I'll be checking for Tupac, I'll be listening for him, but getting Knowledge of Self, it just kind of completely switched the kind of music that I was listening to.
Mhm.
And then from there, it was like, okay, let me hear this Wu-Tang. Let me hear this Gravedigger. Let me hear, hell, I mean, anything that sounded like it was related to having knowledge of self.
Right.
From, you know, Boogie Monsters and just whoever has some kind of conscious thought process. KRS,
Mhm.
you know, that's when I really started listening to those Fugees when they first came out. And I think that helped to kind of get me lyrically where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's
You
what I
know,
was going to say. Would you say that's like around that time is when you started to see maybe your own style change as far as, you know, content and like how you were delivering your rhymes?
yeah, definitely the style.
Mhm.
You know, before that, content wise too, content wise. Now, like when I first got Knowledge of Self and I first start rhyming, I would say I had a habit of going over people's heads.
Yeah.
Get a
Yeah.
little bit too deep. I
Right.
go a little bit too deep into the lessons
Right.
specifically, and you know, using um, similes and metaphors that I know 85% of the population didn't understand.
Right.
And it took me a time to learn, like, you can't isolate your
Mm.
listeners. You
Right.
know, people have to be able to relate to you. They might think it's cool, you know, hearing you, you know, talk about knowledge, wisdom, and this degree and that degree, but they don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
If you take your time and kind of paint a picture for them, relate to them on their level, don't go over their head with so many big extraterrestrial words and things like that. Like,
Mhm.
make it idiot proof.
Right.
When I
Right.
figured that out, I think I really found my flow and my
Mhm.
style.
Yeah, and you can and it continue it. I can tell just from their solo albums and even till now, like you still like evolve lyrically and are able to paint those pictures um for the listener, whether they have knowledge of self or not, to the point where if you do have knowledge of self and you hear certain things, you're like, ah, yeah, that's dope. But even if you don't, it's still relatable and still able to be understood, which I
Right.
think is dope because there's some MCs. I mean, they're great at what they do, but they just way over the head. They'll make you go pull out a encyclopedia or something, man, and start. You know what I
Right.
mean? Which is
Yep.
dope, and I think that's cool too for those that like that. But it's also if you're trying to reach people, and a lot of times you have to come to their level. You know what I mean?
Right. Meet them where they at.
Right. And so you've done some. I mean, just as far as your hip hop history, it's dope. Like, and we're gonna get into some of it. First thing is you were on the Jizz's album, Beneath the Surface, and how did that come about? And what was that experience like for you?
That was crazy
Mhm.
because, you know, at that time, I think I was maybe, this was when I was carrying my firstborn son.
Hmm.
So I had to be about 20. I think
Hmm.
I was about 20. And I had been listening to the Wu since what?
93, maybe 92.
Right,
Hmm.
13, 14 years.
Hmm.
So for a good 7 years, I've been listening to him. And just everything Wu, like whatever Wu I want to hear.
Right.
So this was the year I went to my first show and prove.
Hmm.
And I left at the time. I had some cassettes. If anybody know what a cassette tape is, I
Right.
of my music, and I left them at a law school.
Hmm.
Just letting folks know, this is my project. Check it out.
Hmm.
The guy, it was actually G. Colleen.
Word. Peace to the
I
God.
want to say G. Colleen was the head of getting that music. He got it to one of the guys that,
Hmm.
and I wish I could remember the guy's name, but he at the time worked for MCA, I believe.
Okay.
And he somehow got that tape to him, and somehow the guy got the tape to Jizza. Next thing I know, I'm getting a call from G. Colleen letting me know, like, yo, Jizza wanted to be on his album.
Wow.
And I'm like, how did this happen? Like,
Right.
I just left some tapes, at that time. I was just starting out. I
Right.
hadn't done a whole bunch of shows or been on nothing else.
Hmm.
So it was kind of like, the guy just heard me and was like, oh yeah, we love what she talking about. Let's put her on there.
Right.
So that was like a dream come true.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever look back and, like I said, you've done a lot of dope things musically in your history. Do you ever just look back sometimes and damn, it's been a dope ride. You know what I'm saying? Like just the amount of different experiences you've been able to experience through having knowledge yourself and through music. Like, do you ever just look back and just do the knowledge and say, man, it's been dope.
I do, but I think, I suffer from what a lot of us as human beings suffer from,
Hmm.
which is looking back at the past, looking into the future, and not concentrating on the now.
Right. Right.
So I think that what I did, I enjoyed the ride,
Hmm.
like when I was in the studio writing music and doing whatever else I was doing, I enjoyed that. But it's the years later
Yeah.
where you look back and you say, I could have did this,
Mm.
I could have did that,
Right.
that kind of
The hindsight is 2020.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and not being able to just look at what it is you did do
Right.
and say, I did that.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So I think now I'm kind of getting more into that many years later. But when you get older, you know, you kind of get a little bit more cerebral.
Yeah.
As long as you don't lose your brain,
Right.
you start to think about things more and appreciate things more.
Mm.
Definitely in these years I'm in now, I look back at that and I'm like, wow.
Right.
Mm.
And I mean, yeah, it's dope just to even think about, like, just to first off, how many people can say that they on a joint with the jizzer like that? You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
also you were in 8 Mile. Um, that's that's another like legendary like situation that you were a part of. How did you get in that movie, and what was that experience like?
That right there was right place at the right time.
Mm.
That was strictly right place at the right time. Um, Eminem was making his wave, in the music world, and he went ahead and said he was going to do that movie, a little autobiography movie, 8 Mile, about his life. And fortunately, did it here in the D, did
Right.
it here in the D, used local talent. So I just found out, just kind of being in the hip hop atmosphere here in Detroit, I found out they were doing auditions, and I made sure I was there. Did a little rap scene, did a little, I think I did a little acting,
Hmm.
and eventually got a call back. Let me know they want me to be in there with a
Oh,
speaking role, where
yeah.
my name, not just the extra, like your
Right.
name would be in the credits type of situation. So I'm like, oh, okay. So that was, man, when I think back to hip hop, and I know you probably can relate to, where you're from, but hip hop in Detroit back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
That's, I'm glad you said that because that's what I wanted to lead into next. As far as I think Detroit is a underrated hip hop scene or has one, right? From the beginning to now. Everybody knows obviously Motown and the rich music history that Detroit has, but in some cases it feels like y'all get overlooked when it comes to hip hop. Like, what are your thoughts on that? And if you can, like, build about like the hip hop scene just from, that time to now.
Well, I don't know. I think it's like a two-way street when it comes to Detroit being overlooked. We've had our moments.
Mm-hmm.
We've had our time. You had Boss that came out
Yep.
back in the day. Not directly from Detroit, from Flint, but you had MC Breed,
Yep.
who made some waves. So, and then of course Eminem, along with some others that, have been doing their thing, especially recently, Big Sean and so forth. But I think it's kind of a combination of things. I think one problem that many artists from Detroit have is, and I ain't trying to, my Detroit artists, when you hear me say this, don't think I'm talking about you.
Right, right,
I
right.
could be talking about me because I'm a Detroit artist too, but I'm just keeping it real. I think that oftentimes we can have a limited content,
Mm-hmm.
a limited sound,
Mm-hmm.
that, in other words, kind of like how I was talking about when I was rapping back in the day and I was speaking, over people's heads.
Right.
Even though I'm thinking like, oh, this is so cool and this is so, I'm coming with these big words and can't nobody mess with what I'm saying. It was limited because can't nobody understand what I'm saying.
Right. Right.
So it's like if you're not hitting the people, the masses of people outside of just Detroit with your sound or your content,
Mm-hmm.
you're not saying anything new, anything they want to hear. Why do folks, want to gravitate to you just because
Right.
you're from Detroit? There's got to be something special. There's got to
Mm-hmm.
be something that reaches people. And I think that that's somewhere, as Detroit artists, and again, I take responsibility myself. I'm not just pointing at other artists. I think that can happen. We get a limited scope and a limited expression of our art, and it doesn't hit enough people
Right.
for it to really be looked at like, yeah, they coming with something. Another thing that I think Black people could suffer from overall is unity.
Yeah,
You know,
most definitely.
I mean, we should have been had a big Detroit record label
Right.
that had like all the hottest MCs from the D on that label.
That's facts. Yeah, I agree. Because there are a lot of young Detroit MCs that are, I've just being a fan and a student of hip hop, I've seen, an emergence in young underground MCs in Detroit. But you're right, as far as it's not really unified. It's not like you're right. It could be like a label where that is bringing all these cats together and representing for Detroit, not just musically, but on the business side as well.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I take responsibility, but we ain't through.
Right, of course, of course.
Detroit ain't through, so you know.
And being from Detroit, though, what outside of Snoop and Kool Moe D, were you like influenced? You said you wanted to be a singer earlier, and that being the home of some of the greatest like R&B music ever. Like, were you know you had to hear it growing up, right? Because I know I did, and I'm not even from Detroit,
Nothing
right?
but it.
Right.
That's all that played on the radio at
Right.
my house was Motown. I mean, taking it back, there's so many songs that my mother played on the radio, and even to this day, I've learned a lot as I gotten older.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you who the artist is. It's
Right.
like, oh, like you asked me, who's the artist of that song? I don't know,
But you know the
but I could
song.
sing the song word for word.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know, so
Right.
a lot of that has been an influence on. I mean, heck, if you listen to any of my albums, every other song I'm singing something.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
tell everybody
I was
I ain't
gonna
no
I was gonna bring that up too anyway, but yeah.
I tell them in a minute, man, I ain't no Lauryn Hill, I ain't no Mary J, I ain't none of them. But I love to sing. You know, it's like singing is the origin of what I was listening to when it comes to music, and it's a big part of what influences the songs I write. So it's like, you know.
But that leads into the next question though. You did, you love to sing and you do sing and harmonize on a lot of your hooks. And not only are you a great lyricist, like your hooks are fire. You know what I'm saying? Do you make like a conscious effort to, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I want to make it catchy or memorable, because even if you're not, like, a lot of your hooks are catchy, and that's the type of thing that people throw on and get stuck in their head and make them want to go hear that song again. And the verses are, you dropping jewels and you dropping bars. Like, that's a dope combination to have. Like, is that something that you did consciously, or is just how you make music?
It's a combination. It's a combination of how I make it. And I think that's something I learned early on, where it was like, I mean, of course, you want to catch them with the beat.
Right.
Now, me, when it comes to music, I'm very picky and I'm very selective. It's like I have my own ear. Certain sounds don't really attract me. They're a little bit too clean, a little bit too, polished sounding. Like,
Yeah.
I told you, I got in the Wu-Tang. I like it grimy.
Right. Right.
I'm from Detroit, so it's like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like it to sound, a little bit raw, a little bit real, live. But in regards to, I'm sorry, I kind of went off the script.
No, you're good. No. You were just talking about
What did you just ask me? I was about to
just how you weave in like
the
catchy
chorus.
hooks, and
Right.
it being a part of your process as far as you writing music. Now, like, I think that's real dope how you're able to be the lyricist when the verses start, but you're still able to make something catchy, because I think a lot of times some, not all, but some lyricists may struggle with that, right? They may struggle with the hook aspect, but MCing is still making music, and music is meant to be enjoyed. You know what I'm saying? And so there's some people that can rap, but their song making ability isn't quite there yet. You know what I mean? But yours, like I said, you have all of that. And I just wanted to know if that was something that you were, consciously doing, or if that, that's just your process.
Yeah, I did learn early on that, if you catch them, that's what I was going to say with the beat. Like, if you catch them with the beat and you catch them with the hook, you can say whatever you want in the verse.
Right.
You can say what you can say, knick-knack, paddywhack, give a
That's
dog.
facts, though.
You hook them with the hook, and you get them with the beat, it's a done deal.
Right.
So I figured, why not double it? Why not make a fly hook, make some fly verses?
Right.
So it's part of the process, but it's also something I've learned over time. I can't say it's something I always did.
Yeah, no doubt. And this new album, Mother Tongue, you do that well. To me, it's like you kind of mastered that at this point. The title itself, dope, right? It's like could be a double or triple or quadruple entendre, right?
A lot of meaning there.
Right. And what inspired you to name it that?
For a long time, I've been disappointed with the expression of lady MCs in hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much upset with the MCs themselves, but upset with, the display, how they're portrayed,
Mm-hmm.
how much they're sought out. I came from, like I said, Salt and Pepper, JJ Fad. Um, Again, hearing the first battle, when we talk about raps, the first battle that I ever heard, or I recall hearing, was Roxanne Shante versus
UTFO.
Roxanne.
Oh wow. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's the first thing I heard on the radio when they
Right.
playing both of them songs.
Right.
So my experience in hip hop was very much filled with, mind you, not just any old women, not any old female MCs, but women who were talking about something.
Yes.
Queen Latifah, Miss Melody, MC Light, like
Mm-hmm.
even Salt and Pepper. Think about all them songs they used to make back in the day.
Right.
Let's talk about AIDS. Let's talk
Yep.
about sex.
Yep.
None of your business. It's like almost every song that they made, it had a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It had a point. It had a message. And you think back to think about Yo-Yo. You think about Queen Latifah. Who you calling a bitch?
Right.
You're not gonna treat me like this. You're not gonna call me a such and such. No, I'm not giving up the ass on the first date.
Right.
That's what the female MCs from where I came from used to talk about.
Right.
They weren't showing cleavage and ass.
Right.
They were covering up their bodies, looking like queens, looking like lady hip hop artists,
Right.
not prostitutes and hoes and hookers.
Right.
So I think that the woman's voice has been, and even beyond just hip hop, but let's just keep it in hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
I think the woman's voice has been silenced to a point where we're all suffering. We're all suffering. You know what I'm saying? Women, we're the mothers. We're the mothers of civilization. Your very first teacher is your mother.
Right.
The very first person that probably, it could be your daddy, but the very first person that's probably going to give you a tongue lashing going to be your mama.
Right.
Right. And, that's kind of like how I was looking at it is, like you say, multiple meanings come into it, but it's like, I'm about to get them a tongue lashing. They about to get the mother tongue right quick. And then if you think about mother tongue in terms of language, the original language.
That's exactly the first thing that came to my mind whenever I saw that album title. I was like, wow, this is deep.
Yeah. I mean, again, that was my origin, and that's a big part of hip hop's origins. Women, we were there.
Yeah.
We were there. We were always there, but and we're there now, but not.
See, but that's the thing, right? Like, there are dope MCs such as yourself, dope female MCs such as yourself, and I mean, I see a lot in the underground whose content are, is whether they got knowledge of self or not, whose content is still like different, right? But it seems like in order to like be mainstream or to get that acclaim, like you have to, it's like you have to fit this certain image, right? Like the sex doll image, right? And that's the only thing that they are, the only image that they are allowing to occupy the minds of the youth whenever they see that, right? And to me, it just feels deliberate. Like, in your opinion, do you think this is being deliberately done?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, look at the brothers.
Yeah, I know. It ain't too much better.
Look at how they portraying our brothers. It's like they all stupid and
drug addicts and all kind of, but that's not the full representation of not only black men, but it's not the full representation of brothers who MC.
Right, hip hop.
It's
and I'm glad that you brought up that point when you said underground artists, because in no way am I trying to say that there's nobody hot out there. The underground is scorching.
Right.
Underground's like hell. It's hellfire.
Right.
Lady MCs killing it. I done ran across so many lady MCs I didn't even know about.
Right.
And I listened to them. I'm like, whoa, like we need to collab.
Yeah.
So that coming too, because I'm about to be all in their inbox. And
Yo,
so
yeah. Well, check out Backwoods Sweetie. She's dope too.
I just got up on Backwoods Sweetie like 2 days ago.
Yeah, she's dope
I'm
too.
listening to her stuff. Yep.
And so, and but that, so kind of staying on what we were just building on as far as the image that they portray, especially with female MCs. Do you do you think that at this point, like, will we ever get to the point where what we came from as far as because all right, so I'm gonna hold that thought. Whenever we were coming up, we had a balance, right? Where if I wanted to hear something like super grimy, gangster, I could do that. If I wanted to hear something that was conscious, I could do that. And you actually get an appreciation for all of it, right? Because in a lot of cases, brothers and sisters was just telling a story. But now it's to the point where it's the same story from everybody, right? Do you think what's hot in the underground now will ever become what's hot in the mainstream again, or does that seem like a lost cause?
No, it's got to. I hear a lot of people talking that boom bap is dead, backpack hip hop is dead, real hip hop is dead. Hip hop, just like anything else, well, not anything else, but hip hop is an energy.
Yeah.
Okay. We know it's an energy because you go to a hip hop event and they're like, jump, everybody.
Yeah, facts.
Energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can change form.
Right.
Change form.
Yeah.
And that's all hip hop has done and is doing and has been doing. It's changing form.
Mm.
But our lifetime is only so long, and hip hop has only been here from our knowledge within your and my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have forever. We're impatient.
Yeah, you're right.
Patient. We're tired of it, and it's been what I say. The last time I listened to new hip hop like that had to be like 2000. Right. Right there, like 2000, not even 2001, 2002. Other than underground.
Yeah.
Talk about stuff that you can hear on the radio, stuff that they pump on TV, the big stuff.
And that's another thing I just want to make sure everybody know, that we're not saying, we just talking about the mainstream, like you said, because the underground is really in a great place right now. And you're a part of that. A lot of dope MCs, both men and women, doing their thing. And we're just talking about mainstream. And the reason I feel like that's important, though, is just due to the fact that a lot of people don't even know where to look.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like, hip hop is dead, or ain't nobody really spitting. It's just because they don't know where to go find it. And people, a lot of times people will say, well, you're not really looking. And that's somewhat true. But at the same time, it would be nice to have, a light shined on underground MCs to make it easier for people to do the knowledge, listen to great music.
I mean, we didn't, and that's what I'm saying too. When you come from a time where the mainstream was conscious, where the mainstream was women covering up their bodies, when the mainstream was, backpack boom bap hip hop, it's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow when they just snatch that away from you.
Yeah.
And it's like Molly, pills, booty, like.
Right.
I don't want, and I'm not trying to be lazy about it because I'm a scientist. So yeah, I go search and I do my research, but I don't want to have to search.
Right.
Why I gotta search? I didn't have to search back in the 90s. It was in my face.
Right. Exactly. That's my only issue. And so, I strive to, with this platform, to highlight dope MCs like yourself. And this album that you dropped, like I said, it's been in constant rotation. For people that haven't heard the album, like, and how would you describe this album to them, for somebody that may not be familiar with Njeri Earth's work and her albums, and just even the progression from the time you heard her, from the time you rapped with Jizza to now, what could, like, for those who haven't heard, what can they expect from an album like this?
They can expect, I would say, thought-provoking, a lot of thought-provoking songs, uplifting songs that touch the human emotion and experience. Some of it, I would say, is part of the album, maybe like, it might be like the middle part of the album. I intentionally kind of surrounded it around pain is the best word that I could think of. It's like so it's kind of like I hit the human experiences and emotions. I hit anger, I hit pain, I hit self-hatred. One of my songs called Self-Hatred, where, in other words, you're kind of looking at yourself. You look at yourself, you're turning around, and of course I'm putting it in the form of a story of somebody else, but I think enough people, even if they don't have those experiences, it's something in there where they could say, "Ooh, that sounds like me."
Yeah.
That sounds like something I've been through, or somebody I know has been through.
And that is what makes music relatable to me, right? Like, whenever somebody can relate to a story, like that self-hatred joint, where you're building on self-hatred and indoctrination. Like first time I heard it, like I stopped what I was doing. I was like, okay, that it kind of just caught my ear. What inspired you to even write that? Like, do you go in like, okay, you hear a beat and say, like, the beat starts talking to you, or do you have it already planned? Like, I want to attack this concept whenever I write, or I want to write a song about this. Like, how does a song like Self-Hatred even come about?
Both ways happen. I have a lot of song ideas that I put on paper before I even hear a beat. And then mostly it's the beat, though. It's mostly the music that will lead me into the content. I mean, actually, when I think about the album, I came up with the idea of the album after I wrote the first song.
Right. Wow.
I got a beat from the God, Lord Josiah, from D Mecca.
Yeah, he's from Detroit. Yep.
Mother Tongue. That the song Mother Tongue for the album.
Oh, that was the first song that you
Yep.
Word.
That was the first song I wrote. This was before I even determined I'm gonna name the album this. I knew I was coming up with some stuff, but I said, okay, I'm gonna write to this. And I wrote and I came up with Mother Tongue, and I said, hey, that right there, that's the name of the album.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
It was the beat for that song. It was the beat that led me to the song, which led to the title of the album.
Right. And that's dope. I mean, that's how great art is made. You know what I'm saying? And just being someone with knowledge yourself, someone, a 5% of Earth. How important do you think it is, because a lot of people don't really know our history as far as hip hop goes. Like, the gods and earths have been present in hip hop since the beginning, and it's ebbs and flows sometimes as far as our representation in the mainstream. But regardless, we've always been there, whether it's mainstream, underground, and through the creation of the art form itself. But how important is it, in 2022 and moving forward, that we continue to have, the gods and earths representing in hip hop?
It's very, very important, because you know, we're getting older. I'm getting older. I don't know about nobody. I'm speaking for myself. I'm getting older. And that's one of the struggles hip hop has that other music doesn't have, is the way that we look at our older artists.
Mhm.
You know, it's like a lot of people look at older hip hop artists like, why are you still doing hip hop? Especially if you're not, multi-millionaire famous.
Right.
It's like, why are you still rapping? You supposed to be doing this. You grown now. You ain't supposed to be rapping. Like, what do you mean? I'm
Right.
not supposed, like, this is
It's like
music.
telling a painter he's not supposed to paint.
Exactly. This is what I do. This is what
Right.
I've been doing. I'm not about to change and do something else now.
Right.
So I think one of the things that, and I've heard some young gods and herbs. I don't know about herbs. And when I say young, I'm talking 20,
Yeah.
Doing it, like how when I first started doing it.
Right.
Well, I've heard some young gods rapping, not many. And I'm not quite sure about herbs. I don't know if I've heard any young herbs rap. Those are, we're going to need them.
Yeah.
We're going to need young guys and herbs rapping, not just my old ass or the next old ass. I mean, the youth will listen and they might want to listen, but they don't want to hear what we got to say. We a little bit too old for them. They want to, you might want to hear what I got to say. Other people from my age range might want to hear what I got to say, but the youth want to hear the youth.
You know what, though? I'm just going to give you a little bit of pushback on one thing. Is when we were coming up, ageism in hip hop was a real thing, right? Like, but I'm starting to see it. Well, maybe it's my echo chamber of young cats that I deal with who like to go back and listen to the old stuff. Also just listen to dope MCs regardless of age. Because if you look now, I mean, I agree with you 100% with what you're saying, but I'm just the alternative that some youth are, like really, really interested in studying the culture from all angles. Just saying that to say this, when we were, growing up, I think at one time, like people got dissed for being like 30-year-old rappers, right? And now in the game, the best lyricists, I've even seen young brothers say this, the best lyricist is like 2021 is like 50 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like Nas and and all of these MCs from back in the day still doing what they do at a high level, and the youth and people our age still appreciate it and listen to the music. With that said, do you think like what are your thoughts on like where we are now? Because it seems like, a lot of that ageism that we saw is kind of like going away. Like, would you agree?
I think maybe I'd say I guess I would say it's better than it was, but I think that has to do with the age that hip hop is.
Yeah.
It was younger before, so if you got like a 50-year-old person back in the 90s, that's in the hip hop.
Yeah, that makes
like,
sense.
okay, hip hop only been here about 20 years.
Yeah. You were singing doo-wop before you started rapping.
Right. But like, for this age range, hip hop has been here for, 50 years plus. So it's kind of like, okay, I can see how a 50-year-old would still be rapping. That's what they was doing when they was a kid.
Yeah.
Still here. So I think it is, like I can kind of see what you're saying. I definitely see what you're saying, because there are a lot of brothers. I don't know about the sisters too much.
Yeah.
I've
mostly seen brothers.
Yeah, that ain't changed.
Now let me ask you this, because this is kind of on the same line. When it comes to like real lyrical women, it seemed like their fan base be more men.
Yes.
Like, why do you think that is?
Ah, it's interesting you said that because I was on my little profile on Spotify. I
Mhm,
think it's a couple of these little music websites. They show you your fan base
mhm.
and the different demographics of who listen to you. Do you know my female fan base was like 9%?
Wow.
It was something small, like between 9 and 15%. And I'm like, what
But
is
you
it? And
representing for the sisters too. Like that's crazy.
I'm like, what is it? Like, what do
Yeah.
y'all want to hear me say? I think I asked that in a post one day on Facebook. I just like, sisters, do you listen to hip hop? And if you do, like, what do you want to hear?
Right.
What do you want to hear, you know, people talk about, a woman talk about? I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that.
Yeah.
I really can't.
Yeah. And you know, because I've seen it and like I sometimes I look and this is not to disrespect anybody, you know what I'm saying? But what I see in the mainstream, and then I see artists like, you know, Rhapsody, who still has like a major push behind her,
Mm.
but and she's still not getting the placements that some of the
Yep.
other ones in the mainstream are, and she killing all of them. She
Mm.
way better, wider a range of topics that she's able to, you know, rap about. But
Mm.
it's just like, I don't know. I don't like it though. I don't like it because I think, you know, I know how important optics are and uh, what it means to have strong black images, both man and woman, you know what I'm saying, in these hip hop spaces. Because hip hop is extremely influential, and it's not just influential on the youth. It's influential with anybody who's a part of the culture.
Yep.
Like and you know, that's a misnomer where people like, you know, hip hop doesn't influence. Now, I've seen it with my own eyes. We've all been influenced by certain aspects of hip hop culture. We live it, you know what I'm saying? And that's how, you know, trends get started and new types of you know, new clothing lines and this and that and whatever. And so, you know, I just remember a time where I hate to sound like the old head, but I
Back
remember
in the
a time.
day when I was younger.
Yeah, you know, but like we even had like even our gear like was on some black shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it's now is Gucci can come out with a hoodie with a damn monkey face on it, and we can we'll still rock that.
They buying it, yep.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, you know, moving forward, as far as you know, making music and was there like from Soul Sister to uh Mother Tongue, like did you release any like mixtapes or projects in between time? Um or was this the, you know, because a lot of times we get in the, you know, creatures of habit and get lazy, and what we'll do is it on Apple Music, is it on Spotify?
Mhm.
But I know a lot of times indie artists, you know, you'll have it on your website or another website where it's for purchase. You know what I'm saying? So as
Right.
far as your discography, how many albums you got?
I think I think Mother Tongue would be my fifth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got you said Soul Sister, you mean Super Sister.
Super Sister. I'm sorry. Pardon. So
That's all right. So it's Super Sister 2020, the best part, Return of the Super Sister, and then Mother Tongue. So
right.
five.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say like whenever you are crafting an album, right? 5 albums. Whenever you're crafting an album, do you go into it like wanting to, like, you know, like they sound different, and I think some of the, but they still have core elements of what you do, right? Some One of my favorite groups is Outkast, and I remember like their first 4 albums was like a totally different experience, you know what I'm saying? But it was still founded in what they do. And so like your creative process, what is it like going in and saying, you know, like from the beats that you choose, from what you want the joint to sound like, is it something that you kind of pin down, you know, before? Like I know how you Mother Nature, I mean Mother Tongue, I said Mother Nature, Mother Tongue came about. The
Next
God,
album.
the God word, that's part two. I know how Mother Tongue came about as far as, you know, but as the process, what is the process like of you know, just getting the beats that you want and making sure the album sounds cohesive? Because this album definitely sounds cohesive. Like, what is that whole process like?
It's well, I could speak to this process because each process sometimes is different. This process was revolving a lot around being trapped in my home
Mm.
24/7 with my children due to this pandemic.
Yeah.
Um, and shoot, the last time I think Return to the Super Sister, that was my last album. That was like 2016,
Mhm.
maybe 2017. So it had been a good 4 years, you
Yeah.
know, before. I mean, I've been writing in between,
Mhm.
but it's been a good 4 years since I put together an album.
Yeah.
A lot of my time was spent being mommy, and I
Mhm.
didn't really have the time to create and do music like I wanted to. So I got to a point, you know, in the pandemic where it was like, I gotta make music. It was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna go crazy if I don't make music. This is
Mhm.
what I need to do. So honestly, originally, I don't even know if it started off being an album that I was planning on making. It's like it was more therapeutic for me just to
Yeah.
create music.
Yeah.
And then once I started, you know, really going with it, you know, really once the first song after Mother Tongue, it was like, okay, yeah.
Mhm.
And I saw I still had it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm like, okay, yeah, I still
Yeah.
got it. All right, I'm ready for the whole album now.
Mhm.
So, I mean, yeah, the process varies for me. It,
Yeah.
it really does. It kind of depends on where I'm at
Right.
in life, you know, period.
Yeah. And that's kind of deep too, because I've heard some MCs say, and singers and just people that are in that music space, and you know, creatives, that the pandemic kind of like, I don't know, like it brought on something to where like they were getting writer's block and not able to to create the same way they did before. But in your case, like it kind of prompted you to get something out that needed to get out.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes. And that's, you know, that's dope though, because I feel like with every negative, you know, we can make the best out of our situation. During the pandemic, I had, you know, there were some things that I was dealing with, and you know, it kind of shined a light, and I was like, yo, tighten up right here. And
mm,
you know what I'm saying? We can always turn a negative into a positive. And through that, we got a dope ass album out of it, man. And so, and so when people come to you though and tell you, you know, like, yo, this album, or your music, period, it means this to me. Like this song here, like, you know, might have helped me through something. Like being somebody, being an artist. Like whenever you get that type of feedback, like what does that mean for you?
it's huge. It's huge because, you know, again, I'm only going to speak for myself. I don't know about the next artist, but I go through, am I good enough?
Mm-hmm.
Do they like it? You
Mm-hmm.
know, do I still got it?
Yeah.
You know, do
Mm-hmm.
people want to hear what I got to say? I go through those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody comes to me and they're like, yo, this song is slamming, I listen to it on repeat and I got all your albums or whatever it is, it's like, wow. Even if it's just one, you know, it's
Right.
like I don't need a whole crowd full of people, just one
Right.
that is touched by it or they appreciate it. It's like I can keep going.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can keep going now.
Oh yeah, and we now, because we definitely gonna need part two. Hey, Mother Nature, that might be the name. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
That might be the collab that I want to do with all the hottest.
that would be fire.
Yeah.
What? Now, tell me about that idea. That would be dope.
I tried to do that. Well, I could have tried harder, but when I first was ready to put together this album, that was kind of my goal. I was kind of like mother tongue. This is all about the ladies. This is about, I'm gonna get like some of the hottest women,
Yeah.
period, producers, um, lyricists, singers. Hell, if she play a trumpet, trombone, harp, I don't care. Like I just
Right.
want a bunch of fly sisters on this album. And I reached out to several folks. Of course, I'm not gonna say any names.
Mhm.
And you know, but I think with women, kind of like my own experience, we have a lot on us on a daily basis. So many of the artists are mothers,
Mhm.
some of them single mothers,
Mhm.
and they have the 24/7 responsibility of caring for their children, caring for their home, being mommy, doing all of that stuff, working, having to work a job, and all the rest of this. And a lot of sisters don't have the setup either within their home.
Yeah.
You have to get to the studio and record and so forth. So, I think logistically, just sometimes being a woman, it makes being able to let your creativity out difficult.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying like the sisters didn't want to get on with me, forget that. It ain't like that. It's like, I'm pretty sure it was a struggle
Yeah.
for some of them to get to the studio or to get free time or to get inspiration because of the daily everything that comes with being a mom and being a woman. So for the next project, I'm going to make sure that I put more time and effort,
Mhm.
into getting different artists on there. Because Mother Tongue, I didn't have one woman on there but me. I was the only mother on there.
Yeah, but you
Same with
represent
the brothers. Right.
Yeah. And we appreciate you, and we don't want you to we don't want you to stop. You got to keep going. You make music for the culture. You make great music. Your pen's still sharp, and you still got it with the hooks. And so hey, you got it. So you got to keep going and keep
Okay.
blessing us. And for those that want to know, how they can listen to Mother Tongue or even the rest of your catalog, where can they find your music?
You can I'm on all streaming platforms, whether iTunes or Amazon, YouTube, wherever, Deezer. But you can definitely hit my website, www.nigeriaearth.com, and I got everything there.
Bet. And I'll post the link in there, also the link to all of your streaming service. So I'll make sure that's all in there. But once again, Njeri Earth, peace to the queen. Thank you for coming on and blessing Wild's the Dome. Also, thank you for putting out such a thought-provoking album that bangs. We appreciate you.
Peace to the God. I appreciate you for having me.
No doubt, no doubt. Peace.
Peace.